Welcome back. What is this? Has someone read my mind and created a game made up of all my favourite elements? No, of course not. That'd be ridiculous. This week I look at Returnal, a third-person roguelike action shooter from Housemarque. For those not familiar with Housemarque, they have traditionally made bullet hell shooters that reward skill with multiplier bonuses to push the player to get that perfect run. Returnal is no exception to this design, and though these previous titles were more budget in nature as opposed to AAA features, they were still nonetheless excellent. So the main protagonist, Challange, finds herself crash landing on an anonymous planet, and it's straight to business. Business being shooting all the locals with whatever you can get your hands on. There are many systems at play. There is an adrenaline meter which builds up the more enemies you dispatch, giving you bonuses such as melee power, a longer reload window and so on. Get hit even once however and it resets. In addition, there is weapon proficiency, and despite its name it does not make your current weapon any better but increases your likelihood of finding better weapons the higher the proficiency. So one strat could be to hold off opening all those loot chests until you're at a high proficiency, but honestly you will find so many as you progress. When starting out I wouldn't focus heavily on that at all. Your HP is referred to as suit integrity, and though you can find resin which will ultimately increase your HP for that run, if you already have full HP and pick up a health pack, it'll also increase your health bar. Feeding into this as well is the item game. Now many of these items will be malignant, so basically infected as it were, and have a chance to cause a suit malfunction. These range from slight annoyances like reduced damage when airborne to really nasty ones that can disable some of your systems. Now these can be removed by meeting certain criteria. Again, these can be really simple, like pick up more of this or that, or really annoying ones like open 3 chests, and there might not be 3 chests about, or at least non-infected ones. In addition, you will find parasites that give bonuses like health on kill, but will always have a negative affix, a curse if you will, a debuff. There are also artifacts that just give you an outright buff with no negative connotations to add to your arsenal. Not to mention the variety of guns you will find, from the sidearm pistol, assault rifles. There's some real oddities, all of which come with a special attack and perks. Getting a god roll on one of these is a real game changer, and you learn what really works for certain enemies and situations. There's also consumables that range from health potions basically to disabling turrets or creating a blast around you when you jump. And I nearly forgot the permanent upgrades you will find as you progress, adding a Metroid slant to proceedings such as the sword. Tip: melee is devastating, and if you get close enough to enemies it often staggers them instantly. The game has a few resources or currencies. No, ammo is not one of them, that's infinite. Ether is the rarest and it carries over from run to run. Now this can be spent on cleansing infected items you come across and chests, but again I say early game don't bother. Save them, as you can also use them to unlock more items for future runs, and that's a much better way to spend. Obolites, obolites, however you say it, are kept for your current run and used to buy items on the hop. They're dropped by enemies and various destructibles. These only stay around for a few seconds however and require you to run over them. An old design trick to get you into the fray and keep you moving, but it works really well here and often sees you losing that 5 stack of adrenaline as you get headbutted by a rogue monster. It's a lot to take in, I agree, but again, as with the guns, if I can give you any advice when starting out, do not concern yourself overly much with all of this. Just experiment, go with it, be careful what parasites you pick up and be wary of risking a suit malfunction. Some items are just not worth it at all. This is Housemarque to a T, risk-reward baked into everything you do. Every choice and decision can turn a run from successful to total failure or vice versa, and it's the guns you find will also dictate your choices on what parasites you will pick up on any given run. That's the joy of roguelikes to me. This is why I love them. What will I get next run and how will I approach it? All of this of course has a purpose. Challange is seemingly trapped in an infinite loop Groundhog Day style, but chooses to kill everything in a path as opposed to learn how to play the piano, ice sculpt or attempt to woo Andy McDowell, and to be honest I would take the kill everything route as well in that situation. Why is she here? What is that ancient race of alien beings? What happened to them? Why is that house here? Who is the astronaut that seemingly stalks you? Well, that's for you to discover. with guns, huge sword and plenty of explosives of course. Navigating your way through the various biomes is easy enough. As per other roguelikes, you enter any given room and you're promptly attacked by a random assortment of oddities. You soon learn what they can do, which is key to survival. The variety of these on offer is very diverse, and some you will dread to see. These flying things, which I've named wing bastards, will bully you into a corner if you're not careful and charge you at an alarming rate. So prioritising targets is a must. Most can be staggered as well, so note the bar underneath the health. Once full, there will be days for a brief time, and then you can really unload on them. Teleportation pads litter the levels, making getting about easier, and as you progress you will unlock portals as shortcuts to other levels, which again brings in another strategic choice. Do you farm up goodies in the first level again, or hotfoot it to the next level as quick as you can and gamble on the loot there? Of course you can do both, and it'll depend on your confidence and skill level. There's an online element as well. Celine may come across fallen versions of herself and activate a hologram, avenge the death of the fallen, or even scavenge the corpse. Interestingly, if someone scavenges your corpse you get a random parasite, which is a fun way to mess with other players. Though at time and review the whole process seems a bit buggy. Either I'd find no corpses at all, or when I did an odd error would pop up, although I do know they've been patching it quite frequently. There's also a challenge mode, which is a score attack. This unlocks after beating the first boss and can be accessed in the ship. It gives a certain gun and some positive and negative effects for that run, and everything you do increases your multiplier. If you make it to the end portal you get a handful of ether and your name on the leaderboard. The game looks amazing and runs at a solid 60 FPS and plays so very well. The feedback on the PS5 pad is the best in class at this point in time, hands down. Whether it's rain falling, the charging of your special, it just feels amazing and has to be experienced. Let's talk about the two big debates around the game for 1 second. The price. This is not a cheap game. It's 70 notes here in the UK. This is subjective naturally, and it applies to any title. I can say yes, there's a lot of content here to unlock and the replay value is insane. It's built for replayability. The fact it comes from a dev that historically creates low cost games will clearly raise a few brows, and that it's a roguelike. The best of these, such as Isaac or Hades, usually come in at around 20 notes. For me, yes, it is worth the price, and I've already put in 30 hours plus and I'm still enjoying it immensely. The second issue is the lack of a save and exit option. Basically, you cannot save a run midway through and come back to said run. You either die or put your PS5 into rest mode and hope the game is still running when you come back to it the next day. Not ideal. An odd omission, and must be by design. You can't tell me they forgot to consider it, or it was even in an earlier build. Might have been. So if I'm thinking I want to do a run and it's later at night, and I'll probably play Resident Evil or some such instead, runs can last 2 or more hours, and I don't want to be on a godly run, realise it's 1 AM, and I have work in the morning. It's disappointing. Hades has it, Isaac has it, so many other roguelikes have it. As much as I love this game, it would be a great quality of life addition, and yes, I appreciate it could be abused, but this is a single player game, and you just have to disable it for the challenge mode to stave off cheaters. It's a very pertinent point, and people don't tend to respect games that don't respect their time. Now, you might have different thoughts and opinions on these points, and feel free to comment below if you think it's worth the cash, or if a save function may impact the game in some way. To surmise, this game is a visual feast and it plays as good as it looks. It takes strong advantage of the PS5 hardware. Loading times are pretty much non-existent. It offers a wide variety of build options on any given run, and the combat feels solid and has a true skill element that many roguelike games lack. There is a lot of content here to blast through, and some may not like the repetitive nature of the game. This is a roguelike, and if you don't like them, I dare say Returnal is unlikely to change your mind. The price point will no doubt put many off, as will the lack of a save and exit feature. For my money, this is worth it, and I know I'll get a lot more time out of it. The game is also exceedingly difficult in parts, and you will need to learn the boss patterns to defeat them. This may be a positive or a negative depending on your outlook. It's clear I have a bias for roguelike games, and I make no bones about it, but I have no bias for shit games and bad design. If this was a bad roguelike, then I would say I have played many bad roguelikes in my time. This is top tier. Just add the bloody save and exit option, please, Housemarque. Cheers.